Of course, putting food on the table is not the only difficulty parents are facing during this time. Many of us are searching for the healthiest ways to help our kids cope mentally through this pandemic. Many experts believe the psychological impacts of all of this go deep. Joining us now to discuss how we as parents can help our children cope, we have clinical psychologist Dr. Hillary Goldsher. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Goldsher. Now, we're not seeing an end to social distancing here in California anytime soon. So what kind of tips do you have for parents who are trying to explain and re-explain why we have to take these measures to our children?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really important that parents provide a very direct, age appropriate information to their kids about what's happening, that we don't avoid or deny or minimize, but we seek to provide information in language that they can understand. So at this point, while we might have had an initial conversation 2 or 3 months ago to discuss briefly that we were going to have a change in lifestyle for a period of time, it's probably time to go back to our kids and explain that this is going on longer than we anticipated. And to acknowledge that this is a time where there may be some feelings of frustration or sadness or upset because we're not seeing our friends, we're not at school, we're not doing things that we love to do and that we usually like to do, and that it's okay to have those kind of feelings. So it's sort of a balance between providing honest, truthful information, but minimizing anxiety-provoking details in an age-appropriate fashion. So it's a balancing act, but one that we have to take on as parents.
Yeah, it's interesting that you should say that because this is anxiety provoking for many of us as parents. So how do you have that balance between being real with them about the fact that as a parent that all of this is kind of scary to us too, and yet you also want to kind of shelter them through this?
That's right. And I think that is the balance that you try to seek, that you can acknowledge you may feel upset or frustrated or anxious. Mommy and daddy do too at times, but we're all in this together. We love you. And together we're sort of going to get through this, and talking about the things that you do have in the family to rely on, each other and activities in and sort of directly outside the house. Providing a structure and a schedule is one thing that can really help contain difficult emotions and feelings. It is difficult to provide a structure and a schedule when we're home and homeschooling, but to the extent that you can have markers in the day, even if it's a walk in the morning, an art project in the afternoon, and meals and bedtime, etc., to help keep a semblance of normalcy. And then being as loving and open and playful with kids on a regular basis so they just have that sense of feeling that togetherness, which in and of itself is very containing.
That's so true. Even yesterday, I was home with my husband and my almost 3-year-old. And at one point, I was like, oh, my goodness, we made it to lunch. You know, like you're just trying to get to those milestones during the day. And, you know, for toddlers, their expectations can kind of be reset. But for older children who maybe they're seeing their friends aren't socially distant and so they want to go out, or my producer Alicia, she has middle schoolers and said that her daughter said, Mom, this is not good for my mental health. How do you kind of shepherd older kids through this, especially when not every family is following the rules?
Yes, I think you have to acknowledge that tension. I think you have to acknowledge that struggle, even as a parent, that I really get how difficult that is. I get how difficult it is to see your friends doing one thing and us doing another. And I'm sorry that that's a source of kind of frustration and upset. Our family's plan is to follow the rules and the advice of the experts. And I know that means a lot of loss and a lot of grief. And it's even more frustrated and compounded when you see friends doing something different. But this is sort of the values and set of ideals that we have in our family. We're going to follow the rules and do our part to help contain this pandemic and help contain it affecting people around the world and around our country and in our neighborhood. So acknowledging the feelings, but making it clear that we're going to stick to those decisions and those rules. It's our job as parents to set those boundaries and to kind of tolerate the frustration that sometimes comes along with it.
Well, thank you so much for the advice and the support. I said earlier this week, kids are resilient. It's us parents who need help. So, Dr. Goldsher, we appreciate your insight and your time this weekend.
Thank you.